So, today we're gonna go through once again Seneca on the shortness of life. I do hope that the cars in the background aren't too loud. Probably gonna have to close the window though. I'm gonna have a bit of oatmeal. Trying to lean down a bit again. Not necessarily because of looks and the way my body is composited at the time, but also just because I don't feel that well when I'm eating that much, especially I think and guess when it is about oats. When I do eat quite a bunch of oats, I just don't feel as good compared to when I just eat a ton of lentils, just thinking about protein, which is a pretty important part of my diet. And then and basically also cutting down on fat for quite a bunch. I'm still gonna incorporate it into my diet because I've seen that it is detrimental, and that it has also been one of the reasons why I've not been able to keep certain regimens of eating for extended periods of time. But anyway, this is another topic for another video, but today we're gonna go through, as I said, the shortness of life. I don't really know where I've stopped, so I'm just gonna go ahead with 3.1, whatever those numbers even mean. Though all the brilliant minds that have shone over the ages agree on this one point, they could never adequately express their astonishment at this dark fog in the human mind. No one lets anyone seize his estates, and if a trivial dispute arises about boundary lines, there is a rush to stones and arms. But people let others trespass on their existence, or rather, they go so far as to invite in those who'll take possession of their lives. You'll find no one willing to distribute his money, but to how many people each of us shares out his life. Men are thrifty in guarding their private property, but as soon as it comes to wasting time, they are more extravagant with the one commodity for which it's respectable to be greedy. Which is totally the case, by the way. A ton of people are really not thinking too much about the amount of time that they are wasting, because they do waste a lot of time. A second, even if it just doesn't make any sense, but second. And so I'd like to color one of the older crowd. And there is a quote: "I see that you have reached the limit of human life. You're pressing hard on your 100th year or more. Come now, submit your life to an audit. Calculate how much of your time has been taken up by a money lender, how much by a mistress, how much by a patron, how much by a client, how much in arguing with your wife, in punishing your slaves, in running about the city on social duties. Add to your calculations the illness that we have inflicted on ourselves, and also the time that has lain idle. You'll see that you have fewer years than you count. Look back and recall when you were ever sure of your purpose, how few days turned out as you'd intended, when you were ever at your own disposal, when your face showed its own expression, when your mind was free from disturbance. What accomplishment you can claim in such a long life? How many have plundered your existence without your being aware of what you were losing? How much time has been lost to groundless anguish, fooling, pleasure, greedy desire, the charms of society? How little is left to you from your own store of time? You'll come to realize that you're dying before your time." Yes, this is indeed the case, and well, I do want to underline pleasure and greedy desire, or actually foolish pleasure. I think it is actually quite accurate to say foolish pleasure. I think, and I've seen it in myself, and this is also kind of a diet thing, I'd say. I mean, things taste good, things are great, but are you gonna feel good long term? No. But we still go ahead doing the exact same thing, even though we do not feel good doing it. And I do not necessarily, but to quite a bit, talk about eating habits and your diet there, because, you know, we often just also drink quite a lot, and the day afterwards we just feel not as good as we could. And then we kind of think about it and things and whatnot. But yeah, you know, I think one should also feel pleasure and experience pleasure and different pleasures, but one should not rely on them, I would say, in terms of, well, happiness quite. I mean, I have seen that in times where I've actually been really strict with things, I felt really good. Really good. You know, there wasn't too much of, well, I actually don't really know why. Maybe this is also some psychological thing, which I do really have to think about. But yeah, I think we know in which way we feel the best, but sometimes we kind of neglect to acknowledge it and then also work on it and act on it. The fourth point. What then is the reason for this? Your sword live as if you're going to live forever. Your own human frailty never enters your head. You don't keep an eye on how much time has passed already. You waste time as if it comes from a source full to overflowing, when all the while that very day which is given over to someone or something may be your last. You're like ordinary mortals in fearing everything. You're like immortals in coveting, I think, everything. You'll hear many say, after my 50th year, I'll retire to a life of leisure. My 60th year will bring release from all my duties. And what guarantee, may I ask, do you have that your life will last longer? Who will allow those arrangements of yours to proceed according to plan? Are you not ashamed to keep for yourself only the remnants of your existence and to allocate to philosophical thought only that portion of time which can't be applied to any business? How late is it to begin living just when life must come to an end? What foolish obliviousness is actually obliviousness to our mortality to put off wise plans to our 50th and 60th year and to want to begin life from a point that few have reached. Does not make any sense. I really am a big advocate of living a life that is worth living also in the now and structuring it in a way that it is worth living. I do not want to say that you should kind of live a life of pleasure. I think pleasure should be a part of life, maybe part of your daily life. You know, this is something we could argue about, but I'm not a big fan of, okay, I'm gonna retire and then everything is gonna be good and fine and great. Like, doesn't make any sense. You know, what if you don't even get to this point? What if you die? You know, this is also one of the reasons why I am not a big advocate of, okay, I'm gonna work really hard this piece of shit job so that I'm gonna get to this goal. I mean, if you're young and if you're having a really ton of time left, then I think this is more doable and smarter. But if you're old enough, I think that one should really be indeed a bit smarter about time management, using your time, but also, yeah, I don't know, like, on one hand, I think we act way too old, way too early, but on the other hand, I think, well, what if you die? Like, I think you should never be living a life that is not worth living and you feel bad living it. This is not the point of life. You know, the point of life is enjoying it and making it a great experience. Like, you probably, maybe, depends on your beliefs, have one life. And you should rather live it. And you should rather do something with it that is worth doing. I mean, for some people it might mean this, for some people it might mean that. Like, I shouldn't be the judge, but you should be the judge of what a good life is for you. You know, maybe you decide, well, a good life for me is just being drunk all the fucking time. Then, well, do it. You know, I'm not the one to judge things. I'm not the one to say, okay, you should be living a life in this and or that way. Of course, some ways make more sense for me, you know, which comes down to, okay, I'm not going to drink every day because I'm not going to have that long of a life. But for some people, if they want to kind of live on pleasure, just do it. For point 1, you'll find that the most powerful men of high position drop words in which they pray for leisure, praise it, and prefer it to all their blessings. They sometimes long to step down from that pinnacle of theirs if they can safely do so, for even without any external disturbance or shock, fortune crashes down on itself under its own weight. Yes. And also, pretty big social media personalities, I'd say, are saying that. Like PewDiePie, he himself said that he wouldn't mind being just a smaller YouTuber. You know, he actually doesn't like to be the biggest one, and so on and so forth. And I can understand that, I really can. But yeah, you know, this is, I think, a really, really good and recent example of fortune crashes down on itself under its own weight. You know, sometimes it's a bit too much of fortune, as dumb as it may sound, I guess, but I don't know. But you know, on the other hand, it is like, okay, one can always find a way to dislike things, no matter what, you know, no matter what position you might be in, there just definitely are some things that you do not like about it, no matter what it may be. But anyway, I'm gonna see you the next time. Up to then, stay safe and healthy. Bye-bye.